I became
this sober vet.
Don't live, don't live, don't live.
Our mission is to normalize sobriety with veterans who are using and abusing substances in a harmful, self-medicating way. Welcome, 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 world. We have made it. We are here at episode 20 of This Sober Vet. I am your favorite 14 Tango, Joe Urick, and I am joined by your favorite 92 Alpha, Dr. Teresa Thomas.
Yes.
What up, Dr. T?
Hey there. How's it going again?
So blessed to be here. Today's a beautiful day. Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree.
I want to dive right in. So as everyone knows, I'm a business owner. I own a junk removal company called J-Dog. We're veteran owned and operated. And when I got into this 8 years ago, I thought that like a hoarder clean out or an addict clean out in July would be the hardest thing I have to do. Nope. The hardest thing I do is hire, dude. It is so tough to find good help. But I found a method that I think everyone could benefit from. So when I'm hiring and I'm interviewing, I use what I call the CASH method. And like the Army does, we love our acronyms. So CASH is an acronym. It's KASH. And in my opinion, these are the 4 pillars of the perfect employee. So CASH, the K is knowledge, the A is attitude, the S is skills, and the H is habits. So if an employee has knowledge, attitudes, good skills, good habits, to me, that's a perfect employee. Now, 2 of those you could teach on the job, the knowledge and skills, because that you kind of want to tweak the person how you want them to work for you. But the 2 things you can't teach, and what I always look for, are the attitude and habits. Because if you have someone on the team with a bad attitude, that could be like a cancer, and that spreads in a very negative way. And the last thing is the H, the habits, which to me is so important because that, to me, you can't teach. You kind of have that or you don't. Does this person jump out of bed and make their bed right away? Do they brush their teeth? Do they start the day with these accomplishments that kind of cascade into just winning all day long? And I say that to say this. Our guest today is the founder of Consequence of Habit, which we will get into later. His name is JT. He is an Air Force vet and a first responder, and I'm super excited to hear his story. So welcome, JT. How are you?
I'm doing great, Joe. First off, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thanks for being on. So if we could start back at the beginning, why the Air Force? What got you into that?
I'd like to tell you like this story of patriotism or the reality is I was failing out of a satellite Penn State campus out of Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And I really just didn't know what to do in my life. And I was kind of a mess. I really wasn't going to class. And it just seemed like it was something that was buying me time by doing something productive. And it was, my mind was going to give me 4 years to maybe try and grow up or figure something out or just, I don't even know. I was kind of at a loss. So I knew I didn't want to move home and I didn't want to just work a low wage job, which entering the Air Force was just that, but at least it was going to give me some type of career path.
Okay. And then does the Air Force have MOSs? Is that what you guys call them?
Yeah, this shows my age. Anyone that knows what I'm talking about. I went in as security police, which then became security forces in, I don't even know, 1998, 1999.
Okay.
So yeah, I started off working security at nuke sites in Minot, North Dakota. And then was in did like airbase security and flight line stuff up but across the ocean in Incirlik, Turkey. And then I finished up my time at McClellan Air Force Base in Sacramento, which is now closed. But yeah.
And what was your favorite of those 3? Where'd you have the most fondest memories?
Oof. Probably Turkey, just because there were so many times, and I think other veterans can relate to this where, I'm in a car driving through a place that was so foreign to anything I knew. And just looking around and like, how the fuck did I end up here?
Right.
So
not BFE though, right?
No. So that was probably, I would say that was probably just because it really sticks out as just being so different and unique. And I really took advantage of my time there. Kind of traveled all over. Now this is pre 9/11, right? So you could just rent a car and head
Right.
across, I would take a boat to Cyprus. Like it was just a different,
Yeah.
That's cool.
a different
Nice.
time. And I really enjoyed it. So
So if we could dive right into, I did read up on your background, so I know that alcohol was your drug of choice. Can you
Oh.
kind of tell me your relationship with that, when it started and when you realized it was a problem?
Alcohol has always been in my life, whether I was consuming it or not. Right? It was just constantly in my field of vision through family members. So in my mind, that was kind of just how you adulted. That was what adulting was to
Right.
have some drinks. My drinking probably started at 16. Is really when I hung out with some older people, all great people. Like just in a lot of ways positive influences. Except this thing that they did to relax and bond with one another and have a good time. And I certainly, given the blueprint I had been given by my parents, like that's just kind of what you did. And, so I fell right in line with that. And it was a lot of fun. Like I had a lot of fun with it. Like I really
Right.
enjoyed it,
Mhm.
and that continued, even in the military. It was a huge part of my military experience too. When you're off, and I had a really great time, and it didn't have a lot of negative consequences at the time, like that. And I think that's where it tricks you. That's where like you get kind of drawn in. There were a lot of positive consequences, as far as just having fun, having a good time, and
Quick question on that note: what did you drink in Turkey?
well, they've got their own Tuborg. Is their beer there? It's called
Tuborg.
Tuborg.
Okay.
But you could, you get it was on base, so you can get your hands on just about anything. But it's interesting because they went on strike. The local, it's all local Turks that run. It's a Turkish base, right? So there's just like an American satellite on the Turkish base.
Oh, got it.
And so they control entry and exit to the base, and all the local Turks went on strike. It was some type of kind of union or mafia negotiation going on, and they shut everything down. You couldn't buy it, and I had my local connection to get tall boys of Tuborg Red, which
Nice.
anyone who's over there knows. It tastes like crap, but it was kind of potent. But so I was like dishing out my black market Tuborg Red. But
Nice.
yeah. We worked 12 shifts. We did kind of that Panama schedule, that 3 on, 2 on, 2 off. No, is it 3 on, 2 off, 2 on, 3 off? And so
Okay.
when you were working, you were working. Like that really wasn't much of an option. But when you're off, you're off 50% of the time. So we definitely left plenty of opportunity to partake in the local beverages.
Do you feel like the military increased your alcohol consumption?
I mean, I'm sure. I mean, I'd love to like blame them and say yes. I mean, it didn't help because it was just kind of what the culture did. And I, it's an interesting question, actually, because I don't know, even because when I wasn't in, I just hung out with people that drank. So maybe I was doing that in the military too. I'm sure there were sober people. I wasn't hanging out with them on a Saturday night, I'll tell you that much. So
Yeah.
I would say if somebody in the military told me they didn't drink, I would look at them sideways.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that didn't seem like normal to me.
Mhm.
So, and then I got out in 2000. So, bounced around. That's when it got really bad. So I didn't have a plan. I got out of the military. I was in Sacramento, and I call it my lost year. I did all kinds of different jobs of landscaping and hanging windows for Home Depot and just any different types of manual labor jobs. But I was a mess at the time. So it was just a really rough year for me. Matter of fact, I came home for a wedding of one of those guys that I initially said that was older than me that I was hanging out with when I was young and was just around good people for a couple of days. And that was my motivation. That was in Annapolis, Maryland. I literally flew back to Sacramento, sold everything I had to a pawn shop and packed up a Jeep Wrangler and skipped town and just got
Really?
out of there.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So it didn't stop drinking, but so that continued until I I got sober in 2019, and I'm getting ready to turn 50. So that says,
Okay.
yeah, it continued for quite a while afterwards.
Wow. Okay. And then what was the final straw? Like, you're like, you know what? This is just ridiculous. I got to stop.
There were so many. One of the things you asked in that question was, when did you know it was a problem? And man, there is a huge time gap when I said, when did I know it was a problem? When do I admit it was a problem? And
Right.
we're talking
Okay.
a long period of time. Because I was one of those gray drinkers where nobody knew I had a problem. I drank every night, but you would never see me drunk, and I've heard another guest on here talking about, hiding it. I would hide it. I wasn't
Yeah.
I wasn't like slurring. I didn't have a DUI. My job was great. I was in law enforcement. And so there were certain things that they were guardrails for me that I knew I couldn't step over. Like the consequences would have been too extreme. And I have a family. I've got 3 amazing kids, amazing wife. And, so when I finally got to the point, which it wasn't like this true rock bottom. It was for me mentally. But there was enough little things like, my kid being in school and them asking, what's your mom and dad's favorite food or drink? And my son saying my dad's favorite drink is beer, and, people giggling and thinking it's funny, but it was like a dagger. Right.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and I grew up around it. So I knew what I didn't want to be, and I was it. You get older and you realize, there's this image you present out to the world. And, you come to a point when you have this brutal reality that's not real. What I actually feel about myself is pretty distant from what I put out to the rest of the world. So at that point, you really have 2 choices. You can lean into one or the other. And, a lot of small decisions that I made, that weren't helpful to my marriage. I looked at my kids would see me and I'd think about, well, this was the blueprint my parents gave me. Do I want to continue this? And I watched my grandfather take his last breath, because of cirrhosis. And, it was just him and I in the hospital room, and my dad was outside the room, and we went to the bar afterwards. And if that's not insanity, I don't know what is.
Right.
So I got to the point where, to anyone listening to this that is even thinking about that choice, that is the hardest part, is to put that out to the world, the ones around you, especially if you're good at hiding it, which I was. And everyone thinks you kind of have your stuff together. Putting that kind of line in the sand is a really scary proposition. And my kids were a little bit older at the time. So,
Okay.
And that's another thing, right? It's not like they were, 2 and they don't know what's going on. I had a daughter that was going to college. So 2019, I made the decision I was going to try AA. I went to AA for a couple of weeks, stopped drinking for a little bit, went back to drinking. Maybe I even stopped in 2018 for a couple of weeks, and then tricked myself into, I'm sure you've heard the story 1,000 times, that these people aren't me in the rooms.
Right.
They don't get me. I'm not like them. And then when you start drinking again, same problems. And then in 2019, in February, that's when I was on a work trip, and I came back from a work trip, and I said, that's it. And I started going to meetings. Yeah, haven't had a sip of alcohol since.
Outstanding. That's so good to hear. Attention veteran entrepreneurs, we've got a special announcement just for you. Marathon Business Advisory Services is proud to present a unique opportunity, a J-Dog franchise, veteran-owned and ready for its next chapter. Whether you're looking to own your first business or grow through acquisition, this could be the perfect fit. And the best part, it's completely confidential, with no cost and no obligation to explore the opportunity. Just reach out to Jay Calandra at j.calandra@marathonbas.com to learn more. Support veteran success. Build your future. Let Marathon guide the way. I could totally relate to your story because growing up, I always looked at the older people I hung out with and I would watch them drink and watch them have a really good time. I'm like, man, I can't wait till I'm old enough to do that. And then I got lucky. I got in a cool club. My brother-in-law at the time was buying me beer for me and my friends when I was in high school. So I was like the plug for the parties. And that made me feel amazing, and just drinking and then joining the army, drinking with soldiers, getting
Yeah.
out, having like success at work, drinking, having bad days, drinking. Like, it becomes a fabric of your life to the point where like you said, as long as no one really knows how bad it is, as long as you're all your responsibilities are met, you're a good dad, you're a good employee, you're a good person, like you're doing all those things, but knowing deep inside that could you function without this stuff? Because like you said, it took you a couple of times to quit, and that is just, to me, it's the biggest the liar. Like, to me, I always relate it as the devil saying like, you need me, I make you better, like, and I just enhance everything, and what would you be without me? Life wouldn't be fun. Like, there's so many lies when it comes to alcohol, but I was raised around that, so to me that's like, that's just part of the journey of life, because everyone I looked up to did it, and yeah, so it's tough to break free from something that is so normal and just a part of your fabric.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was my identity, like,
Mhm.
and it's funny because I would buy like, when IPAs were the big thing and I was into mountain biking. And so that was part of the culture. You get done, you'd have 2 or 3 of these high octane beers.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yep.
And but I was also still buying the little pony bottles of something if I was at the liquor store, of the cheap, really high octane something, just to kind of chug. And
Mhm.
I'll still find those every now and then, like hidden somewhere, like, and empty
Yeah.
somewhere. And I was, in my mind, I was like, well, if I'm drinking good beer or if I'm drinking good bourbon, then I don't have a problem, as if the alcohol was different in it.
Right,
At the
yeah.
end of the day, it's the same. But
Mhm.
I mean, the thought of going without it was really overwhelming. And I think it is for a lot of people in at that transition. Like, well, what am I going to do? I mean, I think it's the reason the one day at a time is so important. It's like, what am I going to do? Who am I going to hang out with? Because most of the time, I'm not saying all the time, but most of the time you hang out with people that drink like you do,
Yep.
Mhm.
because you don't get any of the, no one's looking at you sideways for drinking at whatever volume you're going to drink. And you don't
Right.
feel bad about yourself. I think more importantly, you go, when other people are doing it, you're no different, right? It's like, seems like
Right.
cell phone use now. If somebody came from back in time and looked at us now, we're like, you guys are all insane,
Right.
but we just go
Staring at
about
them
it
screens.
Yeah.
because we're all doing it, right? So,
Mhm.
What has helped you the most in staying sober now?
oh man, I look at sobriety, and I don't even know if this is the correct way of looking at it. I mean, I don't drink, right, and I don't
Mhm.
use drugs,
Mhm.
but my level of sobriety goes up and down, and I look at my sobriety is how much am I masking or trying not to feel with whatever I am feeling. And
Mhm.
one of the reasons that the podcast and the nonprofit, it's called Consequence of Habit, is because it's not just about drinking, but it's about what are the consequences of all of your habits. And
Uh-huh.
so I look at when I'm not in the best of places, those are the times that I know I'm trying to self-soothe in whatever way, right?
Mhm.
And there's a million poisons out there to do it. I certainly don't drink anymore, but as far as most important
Yeah.
is probably realizing that whatever you're going through, try not to take it as serious as it may feel at the time, and then
Mhm.
having some tools. So I use breath work. I use like a
Good. Yeah.
Wim Hof style breath work. I've done a lot of cold exposure, obviously exercise,
Mhm.
but and then just trying to keep my finger on the pulse of when, like, hey, when I'm not in a good place, what do I do? And now I don't drink, but it might be just doom scrolling. It might be crappy food. It could, whatever dopamine inducing activity I
Yeah.
can find.
Sugar.
It's
Yeah, sugar is mine.
yeah, sure, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Or even anger, right? When I'm not in a good place and I'm driving, I know I'm agitated, and so trying to be, in real time, figure out what's going on, and then in the perfect world, do something to help mitigate that. That's a helpful habit, but
Right. Right.
yeah.
I understand that. And it sounds like your children are your why. why you wanted to change, or at least they were a part of your why.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, they were a big part of it. My
Mhm.
children, my wife,
Yeah.
and then all of this is I don't know. I think some of the biggest goals is just liking the person you see in the mirror. And like I said,
Yeah.
I knew for a long time that alcohol was a problem, and I wasn't doing anything about it. That's why when people say like, I can't go, I've had coworkers say they'll clown me at first when when I first got sober. You'd be in a bar with them, and probably, for some people that's probably not the best way to go, but it worked for me. And they would say, hey, you're still on this thing, like you're still doing this thing, and they'd clown you a bit. But those are the same people that would call you afterwards and
Mhm.
be curious, like, hey, why did you do it, and how did you do it? And
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and they'd be shocked when I said, hey, I went to a 12 step. They go, oh, I couldn't do that. Like, what if I ran into other people I know? I go, well, they're not there to go shopping. Like they're there for they're there for the same reasons. And
Right.
like, what's more courageous, knowing there's a problem and continuing to do the same thing, or taking the first couple steps to make a change? Because
Exactly.
it's the reason I started Consequence of Habit is I stopped drinking and my life got exponentially better. And so I'm like, oh, well, shit, this is great. Like, what other
Yeah.
habits do I have, and which ones can we tweak? What do I need to stop? What do I need to do more of? And let's talk to other people about the exact same topic.
That's a beautiful thing. And I could totally relate because my sobriety got me on this podcast because I was like, man, this is amazing. I need to tell the world about this. Like, once you make it through that darkness, like this other side is so amazing. So, yeah, if you could jump right into Consequence of Habit, tell us a little more about that and what you guys do. And
Sure. So, well, I was hosting a podcast for a drink company, not an alcoholic drink, but an energy drink called Killcliff, which was kind of bigger in the CrossFit world. And I was doing that with a buddy of mine, and then COVID happened, so all this went away. So I've got this studio in my basement, and I said, well, I was somewhat newly sober. I've been sober for about a year, and this idea of habits and their consequences just was kind of went round and round, and because it's all inclusive, right? Like, there's nobody I can talk to that won't have a thought about what habits, whether they're helpful, which ones, are good, bad. So I started this podcast called Consequence of Habit. I started with my story around sobriety and my habits around alcohol misuse. And then I talked to entrepreneurs, I talked to professional athletes, I talked to other veterans, first responders, and that was growing. I loved it. I thought it was great. And about a year into that, I said, hey, I want to do something more. As much as I love people going, that was a fantastic podcast, I would love for an actual like event for people to show up to. We can maybe learn from somebody who knows about a certain subject better than I do. And so knowing absolutely nothing about the nonprofit world, I just filled out some paperwork to be a 501c3, got some people to sign on as a secretary and a treasurer. And 6 months later, we were loosely operating nonprofit. We had our paperwork at least filled out and certified. And then we started holding events. We held an event down in Dover, and we made it free for veterans and first responders. And it was around somewhat addiction, but really mindfulness and meditation and functional movement.
Great.
Yeah, and it was good. And then we've just been growing from that. We hold speaking events. We've held a couple speaking events. You and I were talking about one before we hit record, where we had Nick Lavery, who's the first Army Green Beret to go back to active duty as above knee amputee, and he's just if you ever get a chance to have him on, man, have him on. Like, he is just an amazing individual. And we started doing a lot of the breath work events, like the 1 day breath work along with cold exposure. We've held a trek across America for a month where we get other people to get a friend and start the habit of just being outside and moving. Joe, I've seen you do some rucking and some hiking.
absolutely. Yep.
So,
Every week, right, Joe?
Every Saturday when my schedule allows it. Yes.
Yep.
yeah, so we've done that. We've done we just finished up a 11-week mastering habits course. We're going to hold another one. We're going to shorten it a bit. One of our some of this is R&D as we go along, and we realize, all right, well, that was too long. So this year we sent some veterans to a retreat down in Alabama for 4 days. It's run by Kevin Stark. Kevin was the lead instructor at Bud's school and is just doing some amazing work around finding your North Star and understanding what your guiding principles are and then kind of building your life around that. And we scholarship as many people as we possibly can. So we cover the $3,500 admission fee.
I saw that on your website, and that looked very intriguing. Now, do you need to be in like tip-top shape to go do that? Or?
So I'm always apprehensive about saying he was the lead instructor at Bud's. Matter of fact, we just released an episode with Kevin today, and there is going to be some physical things. But this isn't selection. Like, he's no one's getting yelled at. Like we're all past that in our lives. And so the answer is no, but you do have to be in, a little bit of shape, nothing crazy. I think the prerequisite is if you hike every Saturday when your schedule allows it, you're good to go. So Joe, you're
in there. Yeah.
The hardest part is getting people to go to these things.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe getting the funding is the hardest, but the other hardest part is within these communities, like trying to get a bunch of veterans in a room to learn about breath work and then getting into an ice bath. The ice bath will get them, like especially the first one we did with that was mostly Marines, and I think it was like a challenge. Like I'll stay in. You can't have an Air Force guy stay in the ice bath longer than you.
Of course.
And so they definitely were like, screw it, I'll be there. But the breathwork part, I mean, you had a room full of Marines just with tears in their eyes because of what it was bringing up.
I've heard about that too, and I want to do that too. So my next question is, when's your next event? Because I want to do the breathwork, and I want to do I want to totally get involved because I'm intrigued about all this, and I've never done an ice bath. So
okay.
Yeah.
The ice bath is great. I think it's a great metaphor for sobriety because there's so much anticipation about getting in the ice. But once you do get in, it's going to be uncomfortable for a little bit of time, but you have to relax and breathe through it. And because you do it because there's something important on the other side of that, right? Like it's you choose to be uncomfortable for what's on the other side. And that is the meaning of sobriety. So, we're still scheduling some of the one-day events. Those retreats take up a good portion of our operating budget, but we're going to get a couple going. I'm working with a group out of New York. Actually, going up next week to do one, but it's more with a private recovery group.
Okay,
but yeah, we'll get some of the Philly area, Joe. So I know it's not too far.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome. So with the ice baths, I listen to a lot of Tony Robbins because obviously he's amazing at what he does, and he does an ice bath every morning. And his purpose behind it, because every morning he doesn't want to do it. He looks at that tub and his whole body's like, nope, nope, nope. And he does it because he wants his brain to know his brain's not in charge. If I want to do this ice bath, we're jumping in this ice bath. So I don't care what my brain says. I do it every day. And I thought that was pretty powerful. And it kind of made me look in that direction of ice baths. But like I said, I haven't done one yet.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can start with a cold shower. You still have the same anticipation. There's some people who are like, wow, it doesn't get cold enough. It's cold enough that you don't want to do it.
Right.
I tell you that much,
Mm-hmm.
I agree with Tony Robbins is that it's really easy to lose a sense of agency in our modern society because there's so many different things to feel comfortable and feel good and not have that yin and yang of struggle and pleasure. And
yeah,
I completely understand why he would do that. We work with an amazing organization called the Patriot Fund.
Nice.
And my representative to the Patriot Fund, he came on and he was excited about our mission. He says, man, I've been taking a cold shower every single day for like the past year. And he continues to.
No way.
There's something to doing something that is uncomfortable because, when we inundate ourselves with just pleasurable things, it's strange how it has the opposite effect on us. It ends up, having longer bouts of discomfort and pain. So it's weird, the balance of pain and pleasure.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And I'm weird in the sense that if I don't have some sort of self-inflicted pain in a positive way, whether it's hiking, walking, working out, push-ups, sit-up, whatever, I don't feel like my day's complete. Like if I go to bed at night and I didn't get at least like at a minimum 5,000 steps in. Like I'll look at my phone, I'm like, ooh, and I'll go downstairs and I'll do a couple laps around the house. Like I'm just weird in that way because then I feel like I didn't earn the day. Like if I just sit around all day, that's not earning anything. And what kind of habit is that for me? You know?
Yeah.
So
It's interesting, especially within our community, the way we're kind of wired. So we have about 20 to 25 ambassadors across the country for Consequence of Habit. And
Okay.
some of them, we've got a guy named Taylor Spike. Taylor is, I mean, he just finished, not just, but it's been about 2 months, Arizona 300. We've got a lot of ultra athletes and ultra running athletes. And he was one of the first guests that came on to talk about his story.
nice.
And it was interesting about it. And it must have been 8 months later. He goes, "Hey, I'm out running with my brother Cameron. I don't know if you know who Cameron Haynes is. He's been on Rogan and he's got his own podcast. He's got, I don't know, probably 1.5 million followers. And I come to find out that it's his brother, his real life brother. Like
No
that.
way.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, but he talks about, when you can harness this mindset that somebody who's addicted to something has, if you think about all the things you did to hide or get to, or to find whatever substance you were consuming,
Mm-hmm.
you can harness that energy into something positive.
Yeah.
Well, man, look
Yeah.
out.
Then you're unstoppable. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some really, really powerful people that come from this world that go on to do amazing things. So,
Are you enjoying these stories of veterans totally rocking it with sobriety? Here at This Sober Vet podcast, we want to keep bringing these warriors' tales of triumphs to you. However, we need your help to make that happen. We're in need of sponsors for This Sober Vet podcast. That's right, now's the time to show your support, advertise your brand, or just make a monetary donation. It's easy. Just go to our website, www.thissobervet.com. To become a sponsor, fill out the form on our contact page. To donate, just click on Support the Mission. Let's keep shining a light for those still in the dark. Back to sobriety, you still hang out at bars and things. Do you ever have any cravings? Are there any tools you use to be like, ooh, I definitely don't want to do that? One thing that I always think about is towards the end of my drinking, I would throw up more than I would like to admit. And throwing up to me is the worst feeling ever. Throwing up is just the act of it is horrible. So one thing that motivates me to stay sober is I haven't thrown up in over 3 years, proudly, and that just, that keeps me going because yakking is like the worst feeling ever.
it's terrible. Do I have cravings? Yeah. I mean, there's times where I'll see, somebody pour a drink, or it could even be a commercial on TV where they're pouring some bourbon and I go, I miss that. I do. I mean, I'm jealous of some people. Like, I just lost the taste for it. All of a sudden I quit drinking, and now even the thought of it makes me want to vomit, and the next morning makes me want to throw up. The thought of it, because I'm not unique in that I had a lot of drinking dreams when I first got sober, or I would dream about drinking and I'd wake up in tears. But yeah, I have cravings for like that second drink. That feeling of that second drink.
Yes.
Okay.
But I don't want to put words in your mouth, Joe, but you've built something here, right? And it's almost becomes an accountability partner at the same time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sure lots of people have reached out to you that you've helped. And first off, you don't want to disappoint yourself and the people around you, but you're also, right or wrong, beholden to a community that you've helped support. And I certainly feel that way as well.
Yeah.
You put yourself in that position and you owe it to yourself and to them to stay on the right track. But like I said, sobriety that has changed for me in some ways, where it used to be like, hey, I didn't drink today. And I still am extremely proud about that. But there are times where I go, I didn't drink today, but I wasn't necessarily completely sober either. Like I felt I wasn't in a great place, and I disappeared into my phone for 2 hours, and I'm not super proud of that, right? Because this whole thing is about feeling as much pride for yourself as you can, and knowing that I was, just because something was difficult to feel, it's okay to sit through it and feel it, because I know, again, it's like the ice bath. There's something better on the other side of that.
Right, right. The level of confidence that I have today is by doing those little wins, by sitting with my feelings, being uncomfortable, being vulnerable, and getting through it. Because before I was drinking to either mask that or forget about that. But now that I'm accepting it, dealing with it, and then moving on, it really helps me realize that, damn, like I don't need to mask anything, because here I am. I've made it through every hardship I've ever had, and I'm doing fine. So what makes you think that the next hardship that comes, I can't make it through? So what would you say, being Consequence of Habits founder, what are your top 5 best habits that you would say you have on a day-to-day or weekly basis?
I'm not going to say what I have. I'll say what I strive for.
Okay.
Physical activity's always got to be number one, right? Like, it's the easiest thing. And like you said, when you don't do those things, you just don't feel good. We're built to move, right? We're designed to move and to sweat. And so physical activity, when I am journaling, which I just got back into, there's a big difference. And I'm not, for whatever reason, I can't just type it on my phone. I have to write it. And there's something cathartic about that process of writing what's going on in my brain, or what is something I want to achieve. What did I do yesterday that I'm not super proud of? How can I do it different? Like, what part of me was kind of acting out when I was doing fill in the blank?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is community, trying to surround yourself with other like-minded people. Just like I said, we surround ourselves with, when I was drinking, I surround myself with other people that are drinking. So if you're surrounding yourself with people that are living a life closer to the one that you're trying to live, that's definitely a positive.
Mm-hmm.
I got to get out of my own head. Like, I went to therapy this morning.
Okay.
Oh, good. Nice.
It doesn't always have to be a therapist, but man, we can talk ourselves into being right about a lot of different things, or wrong about a lot of things. And sometimes we need that literally a sanity check.
Yes.
On things. So that would be was that number 4?
That was 4. Yep.
Number 5 for me is breath work. Anytime I'm super stressed out, it's a process. And I don't know if you've ever tried that, like a Wim Hof style of breath work, but it would be 30 to 40 deep breaths. I mean, all the way in, all the way out, all the way in, all the way out. And then on the last breath, all the way in, and then you breathe all the way out and then hold. And you hold your breath for, everybody's a little bit different. I'll hold mine, say, just for conversation's sake, a minute. And then a big breath in, and you hold that for a little bit. And I'll do probably 4 rounds of that. And that just calms my monkey brain. It just it just levels me out. My friend Jason, who's an instructor for it, he can speak to the science of it a lot more. But all I know is it works. It almost does what like hard physical activity does for me. Like, if I go for a long mountain bike ride and I get done and there's just this calmness, this will do the same thing for me. So people probably think I'm out of my freaking mind. My family does sometimes when I'm doing it, because it sounds insane. But I'll even pull into the parking lot at work sometimes, and I'm sitting in traffic. I'm in a bad place, and I'll just do that before I go into work, and it just gets my head right before I go in and face the world.
That's so cool. So we're 20 episodes deep, and you're the first person to bring up breath work. So that
really,
yeah,
awesome, man.
Very cool. Yeah. So thanks for bringing something new to the table, man. I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, and congrats on 20 episodes. A lot of people think they want a podcast, and then about 10 to 15 episodes in, they realize it is not just throwing a mic on their computer and talking to people. Mm-hmm. And these can be difficult conversations too. You're not. I don't know. You're. I'm sure some of these conversations you're having with guests are extremely deep, and they can be exhausting too. Mm-hmm. So. Good on you for spreading the word about sobriety, especially within the veteran community, man. We need more of it.
I appreciate that. And one cool thing that actually my producer had mentioned before, he's like, when you're done these episodes, he's like, you talk to these guys like you've known each other, your whole life. And I'm like, that's the veteran connection, dude. I don't care what branch you're in, what your MOS was, how old you are. We all have that underlying kind of respect. We'll make fun of each other, especially like Air Force. But yeah, we all have that underlying respect because we've all been in that situation. So to me, I feel like part of the guard's already down and we're just kind of talking to like a battle buddy,
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
it's very cool.
Yeah, I think it's twofold. I think because if you walked into a room and you found out somebody quit drinking or quit drugging or doing whatever, you realize that process, you would have that connection with them immediately. And then you add the veteran thing and it's a double whammy, man.
Yeah.
And to your point, I've had guests come on the podcast and they've become some of my closest friends
Nice.
just through a one conversation. That guy Taylor Spike is, he's become an ambassador for us and been a huge part of what, getting our word out, the word of what we're doing out there. And it's like speed friending though. That's for sure. Because you get so much, you go right to, you're not buying each other dinner, man. You're going deep, right from the beginning. You're going into some of the harder things and that does build a connection awfully fast.
Yes, definitely. So to wrap this up, I always like to ask if there's someone out there that is listening to this as the 20th episode and they're drinking or smoking or doing whatever their drug of choice is while listening and going, you know what, like I need to make a change, but I'm not there yet. What would you say to that man or woman who is currently struggling but knows that they need to make a change?
I would reframe the way that they're looking at it. A lot of times you look at not doing something as you're holding something back from yourself. And the reality is you are opening up so many other opportunities, and it's actually the kindest thing you can do to yourself. It's not going to feel like it, but I promise you that the consequence of changing that habit is not only you don't like yourself more, but the butterfly effect of that it has on everyone else around you, your ability to show up for them. I don't think I have the words to really express how important that is. And then also, you're not unique. And some people hear that and they're like, wow, that you don't know me. And you're right, I don't. But I promise you, you are not unique. And other people have done it. We're sitting here talking about it. All of your guests have come on and done it. You can do it. And you actually owe it to yourself to do it. It's the biggest form of self-love that you can think of. So, that'd be my advice. My name is JT Frank, and that's how I became this sober vet.